Welcome to our first Utilmate compliance webinar for May 2026. My name is Trina. I have been working for Utilmate for the last, I think, 6 months as an onboarding specialist. Today we'll be discussing compliance changes happening within Australia and New Zealand over the next quarter and how that will correlate with Utilmate. I would also like to start by saying thank you to those that have submitted questions. Many of them will actually be answered during the webinar. And then after this webinar, we will be sending an email with a link so that you can view or share this webinar and the presentation pack. I thought we would kick off with a big one. So the solar share offer, SSO, under the default market offer and the DMO framework. So anyone that is unfamiliar with the SSO, it is a new regulated electricity plan under the DMO that requires retailers to offer customers several hours of free midday power. The goal is to make better use of excess solar energy and help reduce overall system costs. The SSO will provide households with smart meters at least 3 hours of free electricity during the middle of the day when solar generation is at its peak. Retailers will be required to offer customers a defined free usage window between 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. in New South Wales and Southeast Queensland and 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. in South Australia. These times will remain fixed year-round and will not change with daylight savings. Also, retailers will not have discretion to choose alternative time periods as the windows are specifically designed to align with peak solar generation. If you are a retailer with more than 1,000 customers, it is required to offer it to customers. Retailers will also be required to obtain a customer's consent before placing them on the SSO, and customers cannot be moved automatically onto the SSO through deemed contracts, default placements, or end of contract rollovers. Instead, these customers must remain on a standard DMO standing offer, for example, a flat rate DMO or a non-SSO TOU DMO. That's a mouthful. It's important to note that the current proposal only applies to unembedded networks, with embedded networks expected to be included at a later stage. I know there was a couple of questions asking about this particular point. So for each of the compliance topics, I have actually outlined actions that will need to be undertaken to meet your compliance obligations. So for those that the SSO will affect, your Utilmate actions are as follows. So firstly, you will need to create some timing profiles. If you are unsure of what that is, so basically all time of use, so any TOU tariffs, require a timing profile to determine when usage schedules will be applied. I've also attached knowledge base articles to refer to so that they can help you along. In conjunction with the timing profiles, SSO price plans will need to be created to reflect the TOU tariffs. Once again, added a knowledge base article. Price plans will need to be added to the building maintenance screen as generally available, and this will ensure it is used in best offer calculations. And also, number 4, you will need to send out some correspondence with your customers about the changes. This is really to be determined by you as a retailer, how you want to go about communicating that. So, just like the SSO, There is also the Victorian Midday Power Saver under the VDO framework that is going to be coming about. This isn't commencing until the 1st of October 2026, but because the SSO is coming out, I thought I would mention this one. It will be happening 3 hours midday. It's happening obviously from the 1st of October 2026. And just like the SSO, it will be an opt-in TOU tariff. There is still more information that needs to be released. From what I've seen, it will be provided on or around the 26th of May 2026, so sometime next week. And just like the SSO, there are similar actions that need to be done. So you will once again need to be creating some timing profiles. Price plans will need to be created for the Victorian Midday Power Saver. And price plans will need to be added to the building maintenance screen as generally available. And just like the SSO, it would be good for you to send communications to your customers. Ooh. Jumping right ahead. So the next thing, I know there was a few questions about the AER AEMC Better Bills Guideline and Enhanced Better Offer Obligations. So these are just the reforms that are happening with the AER and AEMC. So from the 1st of July 2026, the following reforms will commence. So better offer messages will expand visibility requirements, making it more likely that customers will see them. This is including on things like cover letters and bill summaries. There isn't a strict guideline about what forms of correspondence these belong in. It's really up to you to ensure that the better offer message is being seen. Retailers will be restricted from increasing prices on market retail contracts more than once every 12 months, giving customers greater predictability and transparency. The reforms will also prohibit retail fees for vulnerable consumers. So that's late payment fees, admin retail fees, things like that. Customers whose market offer benefits expire or change will not automatically roll onto higher pricing. Automatically roll onto pricing higher than the standing offer price. This reform is designed to reduce the loyalty tax effect. So that's where long-term customers can end up paying significantly more than new customers. Also, this is a mouthful, mandatory fee-free payment methods have also been added to ensure all consumers have access to at least one fee-free payment option. So this is obviously very far away, but I thought it was important to note that from the 30th of December 2026, retailers have a direct obligation to ensure hardship customers are not paying more than they would on the retailer's deemed better offer. The regulator determined that vulnerable customers should not carry the burden of finding better deals themselves. Importantly, customers may remain on their existing plan if retailers compensate the difference financially. These reforms shift responsibility from the customer to the retailer, and the expectation is that hardship customers should never unknowingly remain on a materially worse energy deal simply because they are vulnerable or disengaged. So, your Utilmate actions for these changes that are being made. So basically, your changes will need to be made to your correspondence templates to include the better offer message. I have included a knowledge base article again, showing you how you can edit those. You also need to check what payment methods you are providing customers and ensure you have at least one fee-free method available. And also, Utilmate will be providing a better offer message reporting. So this is going to allow you to track customers who are ignoring the better offer message. And alongside those changes, Victoria is doing some changes. So the Victoria default offer and upcoming ESC reforms. So from the 1st of July, 2026, the confirmed changes will be implemented. So retailers will be required to review the prices of customers who have remained on the same electricity plan for 4 years or more at least once a year to ensure they are paying a reasonable price. Retailers may choose how they conduct these reviews. So that's really up to you. Retailers will also be prohibited from charging fees or additional costs linked to payment conditions, including pay-on-time arrangements where those charges exceed the retailer's reasonable costs if a customer does not meet the payment conditions. These requirements will apply to all energy contracts, including legacy contracts entered into before the 1st of July, 2020. If an existing conditional discount is higher than the retailer's reasonable costs, the discount must instead be provided unconditionally. Likewise, retailers cannot charge payment-related fees that are higher than their reasonable costs. Retailers are not required to change legacy contracts to reduce existing discount rates, but they must ensure they comply with these requirements going forward. Existing obligations to preserve customer benefits for the length of a contract term will also be extended to legacy contracts. And then continued on. Obviously, this is still quite far away, but from the 1st of October 2026, the confirmed changes will be implemented. From this date, 1st of October 2026, energy retailers will no longer be allowed to offer plans that only support one payment method, such as direct debit. Any new plans introduced after the 1st of October 2026 must include a range of payment options. These are including in-person payments, phone payments, mail, direct debit, and EFT. Retailers must also provide at least one commonly used payment option that does not include any fees. That is just another way to say you need to provide a fee-free payment option. Retailers will be required to have effective processes in place to help customers move to the most suitable offer available to them. At a minimum, retailers must clearly explain on their website how customers can switch plans and must provide both online and phone options for changing plans. I know there was a couple of questions around that. And then continued also for the Victoria default offer and other reforms, retailers must automatically move eligible customers onto their best available offer. Eligible customers are those who are receiving tailored assistance under the Payment Difficulty Framework, the PDF, including hardship support or have been in areas for at least 3 months with a debt over $1,000 and are not receiving tailored assistance. Retailers must review customers in areas at least every 6 months to check if they are eligible. Customers must be notified and given up to 10 business days to opt out before the transfer happens. If they do not opt out within that time, retailers do not have to move them back to their previous plan. If a customer is already on their best available offer and is still eligible, retailers must complete another best offer assessment within 6 months. This requirement applies to residential customers on market and standard retail contracts. It does not apply to plans that include repayments for physical energy-related assets or VPP memberships, where the retailer directly controls the customer's assets. energy assets. Retailers are also not required to send a notice or complete the transfer if they reasonably believe it could create a significant risk of harm for a customer affected by family violence. However, the customer's eligibility must still be reviewed at least every 6 months until the transfer can safely occur. So, your Utilmate actions for the Victoria default offer and upcoming ESC reforms are very similar to the ASC actions. You will need to check what payment methods you have available for your customers to ensure you have at least one fee-free payment available. You will also need to check the correspondence that you're sending out to clients to ensure you're meeting the compliance requirements. And also, once again, Utilmate will give access to track customers who are ignoring the better offer message through a report. And then while we are on this topic, so the disconnection thresholds and Victoria better offer thresholds are changing. So the AER has decided to increase the minimum disconnection threshold from $300 to $500, including GST. And in Victoria, the Essential Services Commission and the Payment Difficulty Framework, the PDF, has decided to increase the minimum disconnection threshold from $300 to $1,000 at some point this year, but a date has, my apologies, it's from the 1st of October 2026. And also in Victoria, from the 1st of October 2026, the better offer threshold is increasing from $22 to $50. And that's the estimating saving annually before a retailer must send a better offer message. So for the disconnection thresholds, you will need to update the minimum amounts on your treatments. I've attached an article about how you can edit those treatments. If you have buildings both in Victoria and also not in Victoria, you will need to split those treatment types up because obviously there is a difference in minimum threshold. And thirdly, Utilmate will do a code change for the better offer threshold. There were some questions about water. So very specifically in New South Wales, there is a hot water conversion reform. So the shift is happening from the 1st of July 2026. It's around hot water. So from the stated date, hot water must display in megajoules or kilowatts an hour instead of liters. This change primarily affects embedded network operators and hot water retailers in New South Wales, especially companies building apartment residents for centrally heated hot water. So your Utilmate actions, you need to provide Utilmate with the conversion factor for each building. So for example, if gas is used to make the hot water, then the total millijoules is equal to the liters consumed times that conversion factor that you send us. If electricity is used to make the hot water, then it's total kilowatts an hour equals liters consumed times the conversion factor. The NZEA reforms. So I just wanted to touch briefly on the Electricity Industry Participation Code Improving Electricity Billing Amendment for 2026. So this will be implemented from the 30th of October 2026. It's still a while away, but the following changes will be required on invoices in New Zealand. So you must include a link to an electricity plan comparison platform. Specifically, Billy is what they're asking for. I've provided a link to Billy if you've never seen it before. And also all dollar amounts shown to customers must include GST. If the NZEA requires changes to be made, you will have up to 3 months to implement and complete the required updates. This is just talking like longevity form. But the important takeaways is that electricity retailers must present bills in a standardized format and use plain language, include information to help consumers compare plans and switch. There was an update on the NZEA reform yesterday. I haven't had a chance to go through it quite yet, but there was an update, so a bit closer to the time we will have more information. So your Utilmate actions for the NZEA reforms is basically just Utilmate will make the invoice changes to our New Zealand clients. However, if you would like to have it done prior to the date, so before the 30th of October, then please lodge a ticket and then we can get started on those a bit earlier. I also wanted to talk about the removal of credit card fees in Australia and New Zealand. So for Australia, from the 1st of October 2026, a nationwide reform will ban surcharge on most Visa, MasterCard, and EFTPOS transactions alongside lower interchange fees for merchants. American Express and a select few other types are not included yet. Also in New Zealand is also progressing with a very similar reform. It is currently on hold, but I did want to note that they are looking at moving in the same direction as Australia with the credit card fees. So your Utilmate actions for removal of credit card fees. Utilmate will need to update all the My Account payment pages, invoice templates, and other correspondence to remove the mention of fees. Number 2, Stripe and Go cardless will need fees to be stopped on top of the payment amounts. And just a small note that EasyDebit controls their own fees, so you will need to discuss that with EasyDebit. Yeah, so that's removal of the credit card fees. Okay, so the Utilmate Family Violence Protection Framework. So I also wanted to just discuss this. So protecting our most vulnerable should always be a priority. So the following changes have been pinned as future implementations on Utilmate to keep those flagged with family violence protected. So the following things have been discussed. So creating passwords to access accounts so that their energy cannot be turned off without approval. Adding MFA, so multi-factor authentication onto the My Account. Stopping move-in, move-outs on family harm accounts, and stopping correspondence going to family harm accounts. So obviously these things have not been created yet, so I don't have a lot of information about it, but I just wanted to note that these are things that we have flagged as things to implement on Utilmate. I have also created a timeline for compliance changes. Obviously, there are so many things happening in the compliance space at the moment, and more importantly, trying to keep track of all of the actions that need to be done for compliance in terms of Utilmate specifically. So I have created a chart that will be obviously sent through with the presentation packs, just to give you an idea of sort of what your actions are and put it all in one place. It's important to remember that the things that are coming into effect of 1st of July 2026 should probably be the priority. So that is the presentation part of the webinar. now complete. I think I basically answered all of the pre-submitted questions for the webinar. And let me just go through a couple of the questions that were asked just to make sure that we've covered some of these questions that people have asked. So let's see. So what date does the Victoria Midday Power Saver start? So that is starting in October. Are this is my apologies. Are embedded networks included in the solar share? Currently, they are not, but it will be included at a later date. And if anybody has any other questions, feel free to ask them in the Q&A part, and I can answer those, or maybe my webinar just really answered all of those questions for you. Do we have to transfer all eligible customers to best available offer in Victoria, but not other states? From what I have gathered, very specifically in terms of Victoria, I think it falls very similar to the SSO, where you can offer it, but it is like you don't have to switch people over. So it still is optional. So if your customer chooses not to switch over to, sorry, what is it called? The Victoria Power Saver, then they don't have to. Oh, sorry, I think I've just do you have to best available offer? You do have to transfer all of your eligible customers to the best available offer. My apologies, I just went on my own tangent for that question. I think it is important to note, I think generally speaking, your customers still do have, they still do have the option to choose whether they swap to other price plans as well. When is the New South Wales pricing reforms on hot water going ahead? So the New South Wales hot water reforms will be going ahead from the 1st of July 2026 is when those will be happening. My apologies, it's my computer. Has Utilmate factored in that there will be further changes required to ensure compliance with billing a regulated service? Yeah, I mean, obviously changes will be happening things are always changing. Family harm. About the move in, move out, does this mean that the customer cannot do this action on my account, but they can contact us to move in and move out? Currently, I'm not 100% sure exactly how it's going to work, but I can just confirm that and add it later. Actually, let's see if there's any other questions. Are there any other questions that anyone has? Okie dokie. Well, I'll just wait a little bit longer to see if anyone has any other questions. If you have any other compliance points that I may have missed, then please just let me know, and then I can add those into the post webinar documentation.